Well, hello and welcome back at the start of March. Time for a quick plot tour. Forewarned, I haven't got as much done as I'd hoped, mainly because there were a couple of weeks where I had essential things to do at home. For those of you who don't know, I am preparing the house for sale, ready to move to more rural Wales. So hopefully at some point this year you'll see entirely different surroundings and a rebuilding of what I have here, slowly over a couple of years. A new location. So the pile I had delivered a few weeks ago has already made quite a significant dent in it. That's not going to last for very much longer. I would have thought probably another month and that will be gone. First for onion beds, as you can see, this one's doing okay, but I mean ones like this one where we had that hard frost and everything froze, and then the foxes decided to play in the middle of them. It's caused permanent damage, but you know, hopefully these will recover and we'll get some good crops out of them. Garlic is coming on a pace, quite a decent size considering they were only put in 4 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago tops. Bearing in mind that for those that haven't seen it before, they were in module cells over there, so they have been outside and exposed to frost previously and had grown and developed a fairly good root system. So just putting cloves in the ground, don't expect it to pop up like that. This is the bed that a couple of weeks ago we put the broad beans in. Nothing has come through as yet, except for some of the dreaded couch grass, which I'll manually weed once I'm not going to touch it until the broad beans are up. Once they're up and I can see where they are, I'll manually weed around them. Still got leeks in an increasingly grass-filled bed. As we empty that, though, I'll dig those roots out and we'll do a sandwich again, as we do for all the other beds. You know, that worked extremely well for that bed. That was even weedier than that first one. This bed here is the leeks on this side, and my experiment for perpetual spring onions. You know, it's fantastic. I'm really chuffed with how these have sort of carried on regardless. That was inspired by Zora leaving actual bulbing onions in, so I've just done the same thing and I've got fantastic spring onions there. This is the raspberry bed, nothing coming through as yet, but that's to be expected, it's still very early. And then this one is the asparagus. Again, we won't see those spears until May, but all looking good now, all under cover. This is an empty bed, topped up, ready to go. Now the 3 beds at the back, these were the strawberries. I had intended to completely lift all of the strawberries in their entirety this winter and then reset them. However, because I got delayed, we're at the stage now where we've got, as you can see, significant growth coming through. I can't lift those, it risks losing the entire crop, so I've just cleaned them up and we'll have to have another go next winter. Perhaps not quite leave it so late. Yeah, so this is another prepared bed. That one had a few onions in and needed preparing, so I pulled the onions out, weeded it and done the cardboard and compost lasagna. Another leek bed. That was the onion bed that I'd forgotten about, frankly. So that's all fine. Transplanted all the other ones from the other bed. That was one of the beds I prepped a couple of weeks ago. This one was the one where we took the Celery out a couple of weeks ago, and that's now sandwiched and prepared. Shallot Beds, these two, diagonally, looking excellent. Judging by the size there already, I'm expecting to get a pretty decent crop this year, which is good because that's what the aim was. I wanted to. It's so expensive to buy shallot sets. And I have got some growing from seed. I mean, you'll have seen that in the sowing video. Sowing videos will resume probably next week. I am very behind, so the first ones will be fairly large, and after that should die down. That Vulcan is still still keeping on going, you know. I haven't taken anything off it because I didn't want to, with all the frosts and cold temperatures we've been having, I didn't want to damage it, but if it carries on like this, we'll start to harvest that. Celery, as you can see, has died back, but that will come back again. The aim is that I want to keep some of this bed for celery, but I also want to keep some for seed, so this bed's being left in situ until that seeds in probably May. This was the spinach bed. Again, temperature's not high enough yet really for these to get going, but once these get going they'll form 3 large plants. I'll take them out entirely, blanch it down and write off spinach for the spring until the autumn, and then I'll prepare this bed for sandwiching. The three beds that I showed last time, these haven't really changed. They've been topped up and they've just been left to settle. I'll probably do one more top up before we start planting to top up that last sort of few inches, and that will be that. This first bed is now, this first compost bin is now ready. You'll see here that there's a pernicious roots, perennial roots, there, dandelions and things. I'm going to top that with water. That's one of the few definitive ways of getting rid of them, is just leave them in there. It probably takes about a month or so and they'll completely die off and become gloop, and that makes a fantastic fertiliser to pour on your beds. Some cardboard there for some friends of mine, so that's always handy. This bed I haven't touched. I really need to. I need to either build another bay there or move that bay, put the woody stuff in, because that first one's now full. See if there's any compost in there, and then start to build the other pallet beds. Not a lot changed. I am going to, next week, I am probably going to have a big cull of this tree. It hasn't really been touched. These 2 plum trees haven't been touched in years, so I'm going to have I appreciate this is going to kill my harvest this year. I'll get almost nothing off it, but it needs to be done if I'm going to have any sort of sense of reasonable harvests off of this tree going forward. So, you know, it needs some work doing to it. Even then, it's never going to be conventional, just with the way it's grown. It's the first of the gooseberries lifted out of the fruit cage. Unfortunately, I've managed to break two spades getting that one out. So I'll bring my 3rd spade from home to start to lift the rest of them out. The 2 that I bought were, I won't call them gimmicky ones, but they seemed like a great idea at the time. This was at the BBC Good Food and Gardeners World Live 2019. I bought those. Very flimsy, I'm afraid. The fact that I've broken 2 in the space of digging out 1 plant is not great. But anyway, they're going to be all dug up, potted. I'm hoping to get a crop off them this year, again because it's had root disturbance. I'm hoping it's early enough in the spring that it won't have a massive impact. We're just starting to see the very beginnings of budding, so I'm hoping if I can get those up this week and next, that'll be that. But the aim then is to effectively nuke that patch in the fruit cage and just leave them as standalone entities. Particularly if I'm moving house, it just makes sense to be able to have them transportable easily. These are the rhubarb crowns. I can't really lift those and pot those. They're just not as effective. What I am going to do is weed them with the grass. Now, confession time, I'm not 100% organic. I am 100% organic for anything that goes into my family's stomach, but I'm not 100% organic because what I tend to do is, because this entire back plot is literally, it's 15 years of bramble. So people have said to me, why don't you dig out the bramble roots? Because the entire plot is one giant web of bramble roots. That's why I've decided to go weed proof and raised beds on them. I don't have the industrial equipment, the time or the inclination to do that. I popped these in here in the naive hope that they would shade out some of the weeds, and to a degree they do at some points in the year, but the bramble just gets through. But anyway, in terms of organic, what I tend to do is I leave these to grow over, the bramble to grow over autumn or winter, then what I'll do is I'll come out with some targeted, you can get a glyphosate spot on, and I'll glyphosate the bottom of a dozen leaves per plant for the bramble. I'll leave it about 2 weeks, and then I'll cut them to the ground, and that doesn't really kill the bramble, even though it's glyphosate, but it gives it a chance to hold it in check a little bit for the year. That's the only thing I use it on, and it's the only process I do, so I'm quite comfortable with that in terms of what's going into my family's bodies. But yeah, I'm afraid I can't truly be classed as organic because I do use that. I don't use any other form of unnatural or synthesized pesticides, herbicides, or even fertilizers, apart from possibly Tomerite. You know, I use Tomerite if I can't get hold of seaweed, but again, I'm not too worried about that. That's I don't know whether it's organic or not, but if not, you know, I've been using it for years and it's never affected us, so a bit late for that, I'm afraid. Into the fruit cage, finally got round to clearing back with the mower around the cherry trees. I'm probably going to have to trim, do some little bits of maintenance. I'm trying to avoid it because I don't really want to do too much to it, because I want to take these trees with me. Whether I'm going to be able to do that or not, I'm not sure. You know, these trees have grown significantly and rooted firmly. It might be that I've got to start again and leave somebody else to the benefit of these trees, but you never know. In this section somewhere is where the gooseberries are. Once they're lifted, again they'll be mowed flat. Once I've used the glyphosate on them. Again, somewhere under here are some blueberries. I think 4 or 5 blueberry plants. There's nothing in the bed apart from grass, so the bramble isn't growing through the bed. It's just fallen over from the side. But again, once I clear all this section, all of that will be nice and clear. I will top that up with some acidic compost, just because they need it. When I get some time, possibly this is going to be sort of more towards summertime now, I do want 2 more beds in there, but otherwise I'm not going to pay attention for it for now. This, I'm hoping by the time we get to the next month's tour, all of these 3 will be done. These are the 3 Brassica beds. As you can see, I've still got some fantastic brassicas in there. Some that are just need whipping out, others that need some protection. So I've got, as you can see, my purple sprouting broccoli is starting to come on, but the birds are absolutely having a field day, so I am probably going to throw a net over that one. I keep saying that, but I haven't got round to it as yet. When I do the big weed out, I will do that. And again, most of this in here can just come out. You know, I've got a really nice red cabbage there that I've been saving that I want to come out. These perennial kales from Liz, Taunton Dean they are. Again, they just need a weed, and I will probably take some cuttings off of those, because I know plenty of people who have asked me for them. This bed is just going to be emptied and prepared, topped up with soil. I am going to get some steel stakes. So the first of these beds, I didn't build in bracers at the bottom. That was a big mistake. As you can see, it's bowing dramatically. So I'm going to get some steel. What's it called? It's got a proper name anyway. It's rebar. That's it. Sledgehammer, and knock those in to hold those sides up. I'm also going to do that on the bean arch, which I'll show you in a minute. Again, that just needs a good weed. Lots of onions down the bottom there, red and white, and there's a few brassicas up here that have survived, sort of barely holding on. We'll see how the season takes them. This was my corn bed, so I've ripped out most of the corn stalks. Just needs a little light weeding, and then a cardboard, and away you go. Chives, I don't know where they've come from, but they're bloody everywhere on this plot. So hey ho. See what I said before. So again, those will be moved in with some metal stakes. I'm also going to drive some larger metal stakes, some larger rebar to hold this up more clearly. You know, I've used angle irons and things, and it's just sort of busted straight through. It's not really paying any attention, so I need to get some long rebars pounded in there to keep that upright. Yeah, this bed just needs a weed, and well, the time to deal with all the celeriac, which is a good thing because we love celeriac, but we just don't eat it every day. I grew an awful lot last year. I had really good germination rates, so so that's that. Here's the Brassica bed that the pigeons have utterly destroyed. Again, just needs a good weed and see what survives. You know, if it doesn't, if I lose the lot, well, I've lost a lot. You know, it's no great shakes. These were a last minute. Ooh, that seems like a good idea. Purchase. Wasn't expensive, so well, you know, it's all right. If I lose it, I lose it. If it's useful, it's not. It's useful, brilliant. Otherwise, I'll just rip them out and replace them. Potatoes. Bed that just needs probably 4 or 5 barrow loads of compost, and then that'll be ready for 1st of April, which is when I will be putting my my potatoes in. There'll be probably 3 rows. Yeah, typically I'll have 1 row of first earlies at the front, and then centre and far I'll do main crops. And again, I'll be DIing those in order to maximise the size. I'm not growing anything like as many this year as I did last year. We've still got 4 or 5 sacks of potatoes, and yeah, everybody's sick of me giving them away. Nothing in the polytunnel yet. That just needs a good clear out, which will happen fairly shortly. I'm not too worried because I won't be getting the tomatoes in there until tomatoes and peppers until end of May, last day of May, basically because of last year's catastrophe with that late frost where it killed everything off. I'm not taking any risks, so I'm starting my tomatoes later than I normally would, and I'm putting them in there. I also need to get the auto watering system set up, and I'll show you that as I do it. I've decided not to go gravity fed, as I've done the last couple of years. It's an awful lot of hard work and lots of fiddling. So I've got solar panel, battery, and a pump, and a 1,000 litre IBC. So I'll do that instead. So yeah. Getting there towards being ready for spring. You know, I'm hoping that by the time I bring you back for the April tour, actually an awful lot of the bits will have been done, and we'll be motoring on towards starting to think about putting plants out. Right, I will see you on the next one.